Hey guys, Andy Metal Viking here. If you're wondering why the shit is still being filmed using the silly sidebars and everything like that, that looks like it's a bad aspect ratio for camera. It's because I don't have a proper stand or anything to prop the camera against while trying to film using the wide angle from the front part of the camera. So for now, I'll just film the vlogs like this until I can find a proper setup. So I'll just be using my Ruby reaction setup. Anyways, now that's not the point. The point of this video is the following. Now, it's old news now, so I'm not going to touch on that specific topic, but the topic in general. Now, a few weeks back, there was some news that Netflix are going to be working. I think it's Netflix. I could be wrong. Netflix are working on a live-action TV series of the classic anime series Cowboy Bebop, and it will be produced by the producer of Teen Wolf, and it's going to be written by the writer of Thor: The Dark World. Now, um, my general stance regarding the Cowboy Bebop thing is that I don't really see a reason for it to be adapted, because I mean the anime itself has so many Western Hollywood influences on not just its storytelling but its style and its flair, and the animation is extremely good. It's not like it's got this really outdated bad animation that it's in dire need of a reboot, you know. So I don't think it needs a live action adaptation, to be quite honest, but there's nothing we can do. No matter how many petitions we sign, Hollywood, they still just want to cash in on these franchises. So all I can say is let's just hope and pray for the best. Hopefully it's a good adaptation, but knowing live action adaptations, it could go down the tubes. Which leads me to my main point. I am not against live action adaptations of anime. Really, I am not. I used to be initially, especially after watching the abysmal Last Airbender movie and Dragon Ball Evolution. Less said about that, the better. And I know those are common examples, but it's not just Hollywood. Even the Japanese don't make very good adaptations a lot of the time. A prime example being the recent Attack on Titan films, and even the Black Butler film was just a fucking mess. So, I'm not against live action adaptations. What I'm against is hiring the wrong people, or the wrong kind of, if you want to say fans, the wrong kind of fans to work on these projects. And what I mean by that in specific is it's not so much the producer or the costume designer or even the director. I mean, yes, the director oversees everything. They need to make sure everyone's doing their job. They get to say yes or no to certain things that get added or taken away from the project, because it's their vision after all. Yes, the director is a huge part of this, but ultimately, in the end, for me, where the problem lies is it lies with the writer. The writer, for me, if in my mind, is the sole reason why these adaptations either fail or they pass with flying colors. Not that a live action anime adaptation has passed with flying colors, but this recent Ghost in the Shell film, for all its harsh criticism, it visually it was a step in the right direction. It didn't look goofy at all. It looked pretty awesome. I mean, yes, there were some things regarding like the buildings and everything, and some of the settings that didn't feel Ghost in the Shell, just felt like a generic cyberpunk kind of a thing. But otherwise, it looked fantastic. Visual wise, it was a step in the right direction. But obviously, the writing wasn't, as per usual. So again, the point is, the writing is key. If Hollywood or even Japan, when they make theirs, if people who want to work on these live action adaptations, if they just hire good writers, like you don't even my problem is this, like let's put it this way. Look at what Marvel is doing, right? A lot of the directors who have directed the Marvel movies, like take Captain America for example. Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Nobody knew who the fuck the Russo brothers were before that movie. Marvel saw potential in these young and upcoming directors, hired these directors that nobody knew about, and because the Russo brothers are such huge fans of Marvel's work, and they want to bring these grand adaptations to life, we get hit successes with the Marvel films, because even though they deviate somewhat from the original source material, it's not bad deviations. Like, look at Civil War, which was also directed by them. Yes, it didn't have every single superhero in the Marvel Universe fighting each other, and there were a lot of changes, but overall, it still retained the essence of the Civil War storyline, the conflict between the different ideologies of the two heroes, being Captain America and Iron Man. So why does Hollywood think that if, like in the case of Ghost in the Shell, oh, we're going to hire the writer of Straight Outta Compton because Straight Outta Compton was such a hit film and it got high ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. It's all good and well you hire an extremely talented writer who maybe he wrote a hit drama or something like that won an Oscar, but if that writer is not a fan of the material, of the original source material, or if they watched the source material like maybe once when they were a teenager, years back, and they didn't go back and rewatch the thing, they wrote the entire script based off of nostalgic memory or watching a bunch of AMVs, then of course it's gonna flop, because the writer doesn't understand the characters, the themes, and everything that makes the story what it is. So ultimately, in the end, in my mind, it all falls to the writer. The writer is for me is responsible for taking the stuff that can work from an anime or manga or comic book or video game in question. They are responsible for taking the stuff that would work in the medium of film and translating it into not just the dialogue, but how the story flows and how each scene plays out, etc., etc. The director handles how it looks visually, and yes, decides on the tone and everything. And yes, that I agree, the director needs to be a fan of the material themselves, but it's very important that the writer is a huge fan of the material, because otherwise you're just going to get a half-baked, really floppy, and just plain piece of shit. You're going to get a burning heap of shit. That's literally what you're going to get as an adaptation. That's why, and it can happen even in anime too. A prime example being the recent adaptation of Berserk. I mean, visually, yes, it's shit. We know this. Everyone's touched on the visuals now. The visuals for the new Berserk anime are total shit. But the writing is shit as well, because they will cram, especially the case in point being the very first episode, which came out last year. They crammed 5 fucking books into one episode. How on earth you can manage that? And I mean, it wasn't even an hour-long episode at that. They tried to cram it into a standard, regular length episode, and they thought that would just pass as okay. Like, the writer needs to be a passionate fan about the project. That's where the success to stories lie. I know a lot of people, everyone's entitled to, their own opinion as to why they enjoy certain shows or TV series or video games. Like, some people prioritize visuals, and that's okay. Some people prioritize story, that's okay. Some people don't even prioritize any of those things. They prioritize atmosphere, and that's okay. But when it comes to live action adaptations concerning anime and manga and even video games to a point, the writer needs to be a fan of the material, and they need to be somebody who has always dreamed of working in the industry and has always dreamed of working on a project such as this that they've always wanted to bring to the big screen and to introduce a whole new generation of fans to this cult classic series that would pretty much just stay underground. Not that Cowboy Bebop is underground. I mean, a lot of non-anime fans have watched it, obviously, but that's ultimately what I think about live-action adaptations. I mean, yes, the visuals need to be good, because the visuals, even if Dragon Ball Evolution had good writing and was faithful to Dragon Ball Z in that sense, the visuals for it were terrible. Everything about the visuals in that film was terrible. So yeah, obviously the visuals, the costumes, the sets, everything needs to have that feel from the source material. But ultimately, in the end, it's the story, because the story is what affects what gets changed. And that is something I think people need to focus on when it comes to live action adaptations of anime and manga. So if if a studio wants to make a live action adaptation of an anime or a manga, I am not against it. It's just I cannot see myself approaching these whenever the news of one comes out. I cannot see myself approaching with them with enthusiasm and a positive outlook, because of all the shit that we've had in the past and what we as the anime community have experienced in the past. So it's very hard to be positive about this news when it comes out. So all I can say is now concerning this live action Cowboy Bebop and concerning the live action Death Note that Netflix is producing, all I can say is this. I just hope they turn out well, but I'm not putting all my hopes into it. I definitely am not, because there is the chances of these adaptations, these particular adaptations and questions flopping is extremely high. So hopefully the writers know what they're doing, and hopefully the directors know as well. But it's really something that needs to be discussed a bit more and thought about. Who does the blame really lie upon? And in my opinion, it's not just the director. The majority of the blame falls to the writer. That's my opinion. I know that might sound harsh. No offense to any movie writers out there or anything like that, but ultimately the reason why these projects flop is because the writer doesn't understand the story, the characters, themes, and is unable to pick out what makes the material good and translate it into another medium. They just see action scenes, and then they think they can write a script like, oh, action scenes. Anime is all just about the action. Anime is one of those mediums that encompasses a lot more than just action. There are plenty of anime series out there that don't have action. There are plenty of great drama, suspense, thriller. Anime are like movies in the sense that they have different genres. There's not just one style of anime. There's not just one genre of anime. There are many kinds, just like with movies. So I think writers and studios need to stop approaching anime with the mindset that it's all action and there's no substance or story behind it. There's no themes behind it. I think that's another thing that needs to be taken into account. Studios, writers, anyone who's involved in the project, they need to stop viewing anime as just this mindless action animation spectacle. They need to actually sit down, watch the shows, and try to analyze what these shows mean. What is the message they're trying to convey? What makes them good? What makes people love these shows? And that is something I think that studios need to take into account. And that's pretty much all I have to say on this. So guys, what are your thoughts on live action anime adaptations? Are you for them, against them, or are you kind of on the fence about it? Let me know in the comments. I'm always happy to see your opinions. And yeah, guys, um, don't forget as well to head over to the main channel and send me your questions for the 100 subscribers special Q&A that I will be doing. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and take care. I'll see you in the next one.